Okay, so since we are new to YouTube, let's just recap what we just did. In the past 3 streams, we basically created all of this, which is the front wheel hub, steering link, the attachment point for the front A-arm, the upper wishbone, which is mounted on a bionicle joint. Yeah, of course, focusing. The lower wishbone, which has the tension link, so it all snaps together like this. See? And of course, we are going to have torsion bar suspension. This is our torsion bar. And all of this then clicks into the front suspension bridge, which we are building. This is not finished yet. We started in the last stream. And now what we have here, the Dodge Charger originally has, let me show you. It has a steering box here. The steering box is basically the steering box here is a recirculating ball steering. It operates a Pitman arm here. Yeah, here. It operates the Pitman arm, and then there's the steering linkage. Here you can see the torsion bars and the A-arms and the suspension bridge. And this here, the silver one, is the tension link. So the tension link we can make this one, but as we discussed before, the anti-roll bar will be rather difficult, but it still may happen. We'll see. We'll see. So our version of the steering box is this. So we have it geared a little bit down. Originally the recirculating ball steering has a screw driving a gear. We cannot do that because there's just too much friction going on in the steering box, and it would be way too big. We are going to use the screws. Let me show you what I mean by screws. It is these. So the worm gear, yeah, the worm gear. That's the word I was looking for. Come on, focus. Yeah, this one. We are going to use these, and we are going to use them to adjust our torsion bars. So the torsion bars on the car will be fully adjustable. Okay. By the way, I'm using a new program for streaming, and I'm new to YouTube streaming. Is the sound all right? Please let me know. Is the sound and video quality acceptable? Okay. What else? Yeah, that's where we were at before we ended the stream last night. And now what we are going to do is continue with the suspension bridge. What we need to do now is the A-arm plugs into the suspension bridge like this. Okay, very nice. Thank you, Nicholas. and then the tension link here is going to attach to the suspension bridge. The tension link, of course, is there so that the A-arm doesn't flap around. It doesn't flap around, and we already determined where it has to be. So it has to be here. So we need to do some re-engineering of what we already have. Okay, so where is the part? Come on. Okay, so basically the attachment for this needs to be here. Come on. Like this. Okay, so this and this axle here are in the same plane, so they move together. Come on. They move together like this. Yeah, I know, but you know, I decided to stream that this way. I'm basically forced to do Lego stuff. Otherwise, you know, I will always find a excuse to do something else and don't do it. Okay. Yeah. So we need to make an attachment now for the ball joint here, so that the the tension rod can swing. Of course, we are not going to do it like this, but let's see what our options are. So the best option, of course, would be to make something out of this, so that the ball joint can sit here. Okay, and at the same time, we have to have another attachment to mount the suspension bridge. Another attachment to mount the suspension bridge to the frame rails, which are going to be here. So we are going to combine this with the frame rail attachment. This way, the frame rails will also keep the point, the pivot, this pivot point where it should be, and it will be, there will be minimal movement, if any. So we know exactly where it needs to be. Now let's take a look at our options. So what can we do? Let's mount it to something. Let's mount it to something. Just so we have something to work with. Okay. So, as in the previous streams, we are prototyping as we go. And when we are happy with the result, we are making a version that is much cleaner. So you see, there's a lot of things going on here, and we need to clean this up so everything is using as little material as possible. So at the end, the whole thing is as light as possible. So okay. So we have our attachment point. Okay. Now we need to really clean this up. I don't want this edge to be here, so we need to find some way to attach this. Wait a minute. I'll take a red axle for a pointer. This will be much easier. So, you see, now we have those lift arms and we don't want them here. We need something that connects this directly so that we can clean this edge up. Let me. No, I haven't. But the goal with the charger build actually is to make a car without any modified parts. We're not cutting, we're not gluing. We're building the car as if it would be built by Lego. I'm also using, as you can see, I'm also using the Lego wheel hubs. I don't like them because they have a ton of slack. I would much rather use the LP Power hubs here. They would be much better here. But you know, I would like everybody to be able to reproduce this. So in order for everybody to be able to build along while we're going, I need to use parts that are unmodified. I hope you agree with me. At the later stage, we can always redesign and put in LP Power wheel hubs, which I will do once I make the car. So when I drive it on the street, because it's going to be remote controlled. Once I drive it on the street, I would prefer to have LP Power wheel hubs, but for this, the purpose of this build, this is really irrelevant. The car will be driving on the floor of your living room just fine with those. Doesn't matter. So, back to the problem. Come on, snap in. Okay, so let me get rid of this. We don't need this at the moment since the geometry is established. Okay. So maybe we will have to modify this as well. And I think I can already see what we are going to do. Yep. Since we need to tie in this part as well, we are going to use a 3-stud lift arm here, combined with a 2-stud one. Okay. Please also let me know if the camera setup is okay. I'm considering if maybe the camera would be better if it would be pointing from above. Let me show you what I mean. So what if? Oh, okay. What if? Yeah. What if it would be like this? Yeah, maybe not. Maybe that's a bad idea. Okay. Where were we? Yeah, okay. So here we need a four stud axle. Like this. This goes right. We may need some of this later. Okay, and also in the first podcast, in the first stream, I talked about my philosophy. What I like to do is to have stuff modular, not like Lego, because Lego does stuff in a way where you cannot simply change one component without completely disassembling the whole vehicle, which I absolutely do not agree with. I am absolutely in favor of things being modular. This also increases playability, since you can, of course, modify everything. And we are not going to be any different here. We are going to make this in modules. So this is the suspension bridge module, which will bolt basically directly to the frame rails of the car, and you can at any time take it out. Same with the drivetrain, same with the rear suspension and all of the other bits. So you can at any time change and add to it. You can change drivetrains without completely disassembling the car. Just like in a real car, just drop the transmission and engine, and there you go. Put in something different. This is also my problem with the Lamborghini Sian and the Veyron and Porsche. Everything is so, and of course Land Rover. Everything is so built in. The gearbox is basically part of the structure of the car, and this is horrible. Yeah, I mean modularity matters, and modularity also adds to the playability of models. Uh, Lego is all about that, and if you want people to easier play and modify their vehicles, I mean that's a must for me, at least. Okay, another problem that I discovered, we need to somehow tie in this attachment point for the frame. So right now it just pops off, and we need to see how to tie it in with our existing structure. What I am going to do, and I did it in the E30 as well. Basically, this one will be part of a larger structure. I think an 8-stud axle will be the perfect solution, and we are going to use an 8-stud axle with a stop, because those are great. First, yeah, I mean the Challenger can be another another project for us, but the Challenger, I decided against it because the Challenger uses way too many modified parts, and yeah, I don't know. You guys would not be able to build along, and that's the main reason why I decided against it. Okay, we don't want to build ourselves into a corner. So let's try out where are we right now? Come on. Oh my god, what the fuck? Jesus. Gripping power. Okay. Oh. Come on. Yep. That's where we are. That's correct. Okay. So this is our current setup. And I think we can bind this together nicely into something that resembles a suspension bridge. So what I would do, well, we need more parts, especially more black lift to stud lift arms. Okay. There we go. Of course, we are going to revise this once we are happy with it, because as I shown in the previous stream, the suspension bridge is going to bolt to the frame rails like this, and of course once we have everything built, we are going to probably see weaknesses and reasons to change some of the details, make it lighter, smaller. But for now, our goal is just to have a structure. So to have the whole front of the car, and then we have a structure where everything bolts on, and then then it's much easier to change. This is all now very floaty, very um, it's just bits and pieces. Okay, that's very nice. And we need, I need to get the parts box again. And we need more of these. We will do. Okay. Okay. So for now, I will put in blueprints so we have an easier time just snapping the suspension bridge on and off. But the first problem I already discovered is this. So we need 5 studs of space between those attachment points. Or additionally, we could have 7. This is another possibility, but I think 5 would be better. That's why we are going to do it like this. Sometimes even I am surprised at the gripping power of Lego. Okay. I miscalculated. What did I miscalculate? What the fuck? Okay. Oh yes. Wait a minute. We're not infallible, but hey, this is correct. But this needs to be one start closer to, yeah. Of course, I didn't even look at what I was doing. Well, it happens. So, there we go. Yeah, 3 starts between them, yeah. Like this. Like this. Come on. Yeah. Like this. There we go. No, this is the front suspension. The rear suspension is going to be leaf springs and solid axle. Like in the rear car. So let's put this there. There we go. I think the articulation is perfect. And already I can see that there's really no movement here. This is going to be rock solid. And you have to also keep in mind that the torsion bar is also being mounted into the body of the car, where it will have a mechanism to retain it. So, very nice. Okay, of course we have to sort the steering out as well. I played with the geometry in the previous stream already. Yeah, I know, but hey, I decided to stream instead of making videos because making videos requires so much preparation, and I don't know, streaming is just more fun, and it forces me to actually build Lego models. Go figure. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to replicate this on the other side, and then we are going to make the frame rail here so we can mount the top wishbone. Once we have mounted the top wishbone, then we can make this steering geometry work. Just so that we have something to attach the top wishbone to. Okay? Should be, come on. Should be relatively quick. And at the same time, I see that we need some improvements here, but this is stuff that we can do later. I'm going to use a 4-axle with a stop like this. You know, it's always nice to have things secure. I like to secure my Lego. Okay. This side is of course much easier because we already know what to do. Come on. Okay. And for the sake of it, I'm going to use for an axle with stop here as well. Doesn't cost us anything, but makes things much more solid. Yeah, I think YouTube saves the streams, so you can, once it's done, it's available as a video. Should be. There we go. What am I missing? I'm missing this one. Okay. Okay. So nice and symmetrical. I'm going to leave this open for now. We need to close it, but it all depends on what we're going to do with the frame rails, with the chassis, because in the front there's always room for an anti-roll bar. I'm keeping the option open. We'll see once it's all done. We'll see where to go from there. So one consideration we have to make, of course, everybody who joins us on YouTube doesn't know which wheels we are going to use. Of course, I mean I show this on the Twitch stream, but let me bring you up to speed just for a second. So we are using these ones, the Batman wheels. If we return to our previous, come on. To the first stream folder. So you can see where I'm getting at. The wheels are just perfect. The wheels, I think, will be excellent. So we also scaled it, and we discovered that, where's my just a second. Let me just bring out the where is it? Oh, yes. Okay, so we have our scale and our dimensions are already calculated. So the width of the car is 243 millimeters. So 243 millimeters. is 243 millimeters, is about this much. Okay, so the wheels we are going to use are 44 millimeters wide, which is pretty wide, but they fit the charger pretty good. So just so we see what we are talking about. Okay, that's the width of our front axle. Okay, now the rims we are going to use are these. These are the same as in the Batman car, but these wheels are a bit too narrow, while these are too wide. So the Batman wheels are as wide as this. So without this edge, and these are slightly too narrow. But okay, and the consideration now with what we are doing here is that when we have our frame rail and we turn the wheel, we don't want the wheel to hit the frame rail, but at the same time we want the frame rails to be as wide as possible to give us an engine bay that is as big as possible. And of course the wheels, I already ordered the wheels, so as soon as they come we are going to fit them, and we may have to revise the width of the engine bay. Hopefully we can make it even wider. That would be ideal, but if not, what we are having here will be perfect. Regardless of the wheels, none of the geometry and dimensions of the suspension itself will change, so that's good. So whatever we do from here on with the mounting of the A-arms, with the geometry of the steering, none of this will change, so we can proceed without worrying too much. Okay, so in order to now mount the upper wishbone, we need to make some structure here. And now let me get my collection of frames. And we're going to use some. Yeah, I'm still alive. Okay, now there's several options to put those frames together. Anybody who has seen the E30 build has seen that you can do it like this, or well, also some of my favorite connection, which Lego also should use, like this, because like this they cannot be separated. I mean, yeah, of course, like this, but they are extremely rigid in this direction. So we already decided that the A-arm yeah, the A-arm is going to be mounted inside, of course, a frame. That's fine. And of course in the middle of the frame. This will give us the caster we need, and it will provide us with a mounting point inside the frame. So I think if it's in the middle of the frame like this, it's slightly, the caster is not big enough, so it needs to be a little bit, wait a minute, come on, maybe this enough, maybe this enough, yeah, okay. The lower wishbone was not in the right position. So come on. Okay, if you mount it in the middle, it's going to be fine. However, I will reverse this so that it's actually like this, and the second frame will then be mounted like this, okay, and the wishbone is going to be mounted here inside, because luckily for us, the geometry of it all allows us to do this. So now we have to engineer the upper wishbone. No, there are no issues. You just have to use the ones with that don't come with the sockets without rubber bits. If the sockets have rubber bits, then you have issues. And the new ball joints, the new small ball joints also are a lot stiffer with less slack. So here we don't have the same issue as with the old ones, where the slack was just unbearable. This slack is minimal, and I'm using the Bionicle mainly for packaging reasons, because there's no other parts really that would allow us to do this. We cannot do this setup with the big wishbone parts. Okay, so this is neat, and we want it to be in the center, but at the same time I want it to be modular. And by modular I mean that people have seen me use these before to signal parts that can be removed. So instead of the axle, I want there to be a red pin on each side that you just unpin, and then the lift arm comes out, so that you have the least amount of trouble possible when removing or disassembling any of this. It's close to real life as well, and it's not even difficult to engineer. And at the same time, since this will mean that the wishbone here is going to be 5 studs thick, at the same time we are also securing it inside of the frame, so it will move as little as possible, which is good. So what we need to do now is basically to do this. So I want these guys to be turned like this, so the pins, you cannot see anything, so that The pins come in sideways. And this is 4. Yeah, we need these combined with these. There we go. Things don't have to be always complicated. There we go. The upper wishbone is mounted. It's removable and it doesn't move anywhere. There we go. Okay. The caster angle is pretty much what we want. The movement is sufficient. Let me just remount our tension link. There we go. And there we go. So if only the camera would focus the model instead of the background, that would be nice. There we go. I think we can be pretty satisfied with this. Of course, at extreme angles, because of the short upper wishbone, the camber increases, but this is the position this suspension will never be in. So when the wheels are off the ground, I suspect it will be something like this, and when the car is on the ground, it will be something like this. And then, of course, the camber change that we have here, this is actually what we want. That's the whole point of the shorter upper wishbone, so that when the car corners, the surface of the wheel stays level with the ground, maximizing grip. And I'm extremely happy actually with this, because this actually does not move anywhere. I will now just temporarily fix this to this, so it doesn't slip out on us while we do the steering geometry, because this is annoying as fuck. Okay. Since we have absolutely no idea how stiff the springs have to be, I'm not even going to bother with them. This is irrelevant at the moment. What is relevant is that we actually do need the torsion bars to be 1 stud thick, because we need to see that the steering links clear them at any angle. Okay. I'm going to use this. Hello, Raleigh. I am still here. Yes, okay. And this. Come on. Okay. So Ah, yes, okay. That's no problem. There we go. Okay, so now uh, the lower wishbone is not going to fall out of the socket anymore, and we can actually, oh come on, and we can now engineer the steering. We'll see how this goes. Probably some changes required. I'm going to now replicate this on the other side, so that we can then see that the tracking is good, and since none of this is really fixed, I need to uh, affix this frame rail to the other side, so that we have as little movement here as possible. So let's do it now. Yeah, we're building a Dodge Charger. That's what people on Facebook have voted for. I was actually suspecting it, that would be the result of the voting. It's fine with me. I like the Charger is my dream car. So and I do not have the Lego Dodge Charger. If anybody's asking, I have seen the pictures. I have seen the pictures of it. Went through all of the speed builds to see exactly how it's made up. But well, for the scale it's in, it's fine. The rear quarter panel with the rear fender where the wheel is not fine. It looks like I don't know. It doesn't look good. Let's say it doesn't look good. Will I buy it? Well, I probably will, because I need black parts for our version as well. So yeah, it's a good parts car. Okay. Oh wow, we need more frames. Oh yeah. As long as it's a big block, I don't care if it's the 383 or the 440. Both, I like both. They're basically the same engine, just with the 440 has slightly higher displacement. There we go. And of course I need more four links for the upper wishbone. Yeah, well, we are also building at a slightly bigger scale than a Lego one. That's part of the reason. I mean, at the scale of the Lego version, yeah, there are a few things that you could do better, but not very much. I mean, at that scale, the Lego version is pretty fine. I would, of course, use leaf springs in the back instead of what Lego used. We are, of course, doing leaf springs in our version, absolutely. And since this is a build along, everybody here can build leaf springs for themselves. It will be fun. There we go. Just a moment, and we have everything duplicated on the other side. There. Okay. Well, it's starting to look like something incredible. Okay. Oh yeah, 6-pack, absolutely. I mean, a normal 4-barrel carburetor on the base Magnum is okay. I wouldn't mind. Absolutely, I wouldn't mind. But if I can choose, I would choose the 6-pack. Absolutely. The leaf springs will be studded plates. But the rest of the suspension, the rest of the axle will be studless, of course. If anybody has seen the Ford Transit video that I did almost 3 years ago, as one of the comments in the comments mentioned, yes, we have combined studless with studded before. Yes, of course. Be like this. So the frames I'm building now are just there to maintain the shape. They are not what we are going to use in the final product, because everything here is subject to change. I mean, even these two will probably be mounted vertically, because the firewall will be somewhere here. I don't know. We need to see. And in the front as well, the front frame is somewhere here. We'll see. And then the real car, I mean, the structure of the chassis ends here, and then there's another frame length of basically void before the grill. That's how the real car is made. Let's call it a crash structure. It's a 16x2 plate, and we are going to use the 16x2 plate here as well. Okay, we're in sort of a pickle here. Yeah, what we are going to do, you know, we're just going to do this. Doesn't matter. It's just so that now you see, you can see that the plates have already created a very stiff structure. Very nice. And oh my god, I'm actually surprised myself. This is the maximum amount of movement. My god. Yep, this is very stiff. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Of course, there are problems that that may be not anticipated, like for example this, which I just discovered. What's happening, of course, because of the caster. See, this here is colliding with this. Yeah, the suspension is, and you see, the moment when the suspension is in full drop, it's fine. But the suspension will not be in full drop when the car is at right height. And at right height, we cannot steer, which is a problem. Something we have not anticipated. So this tension link will have to be re-engineered. doesn't matter what we do, this is fine. So we have to move this tension link by half a stud, which we can. This is not a problem, and we are going to re-engineer this now, so that I can be certain that the steering works as intended. And of course, we are going to use these, of course, which slot exactly in the same spot, and they just move the pin half a step forward, and everything is solved on the suspension arm side. And here, this will actually benefit us, because then the structure here will also be able to be a lot cleaner. We can clean up those half studs. So this is fine. A problem that actually solves another one. Come on. And we'll do, of course, one side first, so we can be sure that the other side doesn't present us with surprises. Okay. And this also means that we can make this a little lighter. Again, very nice. One thing that I'm going to do while I have the opportunity, we're going to re-engineer this a little bit, since we can. You see, we are using torsion bars for our suspension, and when using torsion bars, when axles for torsion bars, what can happen is that this part of the lift arms can crack. So we are using as many lift arms and as much reinforcement as possible, like this. And the part on the original car, if we take a look at it, you can see how beefy the you can't. Wait. Yeah, you can see how beefy the actual mounting point for the torsion bar is. No, moving the pin to the opposite side is not an option, because then you see this, the ball joint of this needs to be in line with the axle coming from here. See, and when I move it here, the triangle is not big enough, and the point of this is the triangle. So basically, these two form a triangular lower wishbone. Okay, now let's modify this. So we need it to be half a stud more forward than this. Okay. Yeah, see, there is potential for improvement here as well, but we are going to deal with it later. Okay. First this part. Oh, okay. Okay. Let's see where the problem lies. Oh, okay. Because of the triangle, we need to actually move this thing once instead of half a. We move this half a stat more to the front, but we need to move this one stat more to the front to for the same uh, for the same thing. Yeah, interesting. Okay, even better, even better. Makes things even simpler. There we go. There we go. We are going to deal with everything else later. So this, this, this. Okay. Come on. Matheus, hi, but are you stuck on your keyboard or what? Oh, right. Ah, yeah, I did. I did. There we go. That's the reason why there was one stud. The offset was one stud. Yeah, okay. Such a klutz. There we go. Yeah. Okay, let's check the steering. Yes, see? It doesn't bump into it anymore. And the front was never a problem anyway. That's the maximum angle we are going to experience anyway, so that's perfectly fine. I will call it solved. So let's solve it on the other side as well, and then we can finally move to the steering geometry. I don't know if I'm the best, but I do my best. I try. Ah. Okay. So that is solved. Ah, come on. There we go. Okay. Front. There we go. So we can now move on to the steering. For this, I am going to replace this 7-stud axle that goes through the steering box with an 8 axle with stop, because this is going to give us a better time. This is constantly slipping out. There we go. As you can see, our engine bay is actually quite spacious. There's quite a lot of potential space in here. And the V of the engine, of course, is going to be here. So there's the crankshaft is here, and the V is going to be somewhere here. And if you use an electric motor, which we are going to use once we make it remote control, there's just more than enough room here for whatever we want to put in, given the scale, of course. What do you mean, Victor? We are already engineering the suspension with the car being remote controlled in mind. Okay, back reinforcements back. Okay, so now that we know that our suspension is really nice and solid, I mean, I'm basically moving the everything here. Yeah, you see what's happening? Basically, I am bending when I move the axle. I'm bending the torsion bar, but since the parts here are going to be fixed to the body, which will add more strength, this is not a problem. And these two also need to be bind together so they don't move. Okay, now that we are spoiled, I'm just looking at the caster, thinking maybe it's a little bit too much. Nah, it'll be fine. It's not too much. It's just right. No, it won't be LP powered, simply because there's just no room for a V8 LP power V8 at the scale we are doing, and I want the car to be actually a bit faster, and so I will not be able to run behind it. It'll have batteries, and it'll be fun. Okay, I just wanted to show what normal Lego suspensions look like from factory. So, as an example, let's take the Land Rover. Yeah, 90-degree caster, yeah. So, this is what Lego deems acceptable. This is just movement in every way. And I mean, for a model like this, I guess, yeah, it's fine. The problem is that when you drive it on the very smooth living room floor, this is okay. There's no caster, of course, which presents other problems. But for the living room, this is okay. As soon as we go outside, the scale of the surface changes, because you have to keep in mind that a normal road that you think is without any bumps, for your car it looks very smooth, but when you go to 1/8 scale like this, every small stone on the road is a rock, and you have to. Yeah, it was meant to display just like the other big models, and that's fine. I mean, that's fine, but the thing is that none of these models are even technically challenging. They're not fun to build. It's the same building techniques, the same suspension setups, over and over and over again. I mean, there's no variation, no caster, no. I mean, and it's so easy to do. I mean, what? These are unmodified bricks. This can be part of a Lego model, of an official model. I mean, there's no modified parts, not even we didn't even use illegal building techniques. It is faster. I mean, the thing is, a Lego pneumatic engine would be better in here. For example, the small inline 4-cylinder, excellent. Problem is air supply. The energy storage is the problem for stuff like this. And it's much easier to carry a battery pack with you, change it, be done with it, than to somehow engineer a large space for compressed air bottles into the car. I don't know. The Mustang was great because I could power it with a stationary air compressor, so it didn't have to carry the air supply with it. This is going to be to have we are building an engine, of course. It will be a V8 with working camshaft, crankshaft, valves, push rods. It'll look the part, absolutely. Because I also want to show that one can make an interesting engine instead of just putting the pistons in. There's so much more to the engine that makes it interesting, and we're going to do it here as well. But when you then go outside and want to have it remote controlled, you remove the engine and put the electric drivetrain in. Since everything is going to be modular, no problem. If this was Lego, you would have to basically rebuild half of the car just to do this. Okay, so now that we've done this, we need to do the steering. Okay, so here you can see we have already designed the A-arm. This is some aftermarket stuff, but doesn't matter. This is what's interesting for us. So we have the A-arm, we have the shaft of the steering box coming down here. And then we have the so-called Pitman arm. No, not really. Some, but normal car suspensions have some friction as well. So there's that. Okay, and then we need to engineer this stuff. I mean, I already have something, but we'll see if now that we made everything fixed, what I did when everything was still wobbly, will actually hold any ground here, or if we have to re-engineer it. So the same perspective that we had on the picture. You see, yeah. Here's the steering axle. Yeah, let's see. There's actually not a lot of friction. I mean, this is not really. I mean, it's normal Lego suspension friction. Nothing special. I don't know. It's acceptable. Okay. So I already made this. I used the angled lift arms because because this bad boy would, if this was a straight lift arm, you see, the moment you steer, they would bind. Yeah, they're on Twitch. The quality of those may be worse than this, but I'm still tweaking everything. The frame rate might be a little bit bad. I hope it's still watchable. Okay, so what we do, we stick it on like this. And hope for the best. But I can already see that some modification will be necessary. Okay. So angles look good. The wheels also look straight-ish, but this is something I can only determine once we get the wheels. Then we'll see if any of this is good. So we can drive the car along, steer a little bit, and see if the wheels center themselves or not. I'm going to put a gear on top of this so I can steer. So, one. Okay, so steering is a little bit choppy. Why, you might ask? Well, very simple. Because when steering, you can see that this here bumps into the spring. And this is not good. Let's see why. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit hard. It's a little bit hard to move. I mean, it doesn't feel really hard like this. I don't know if we have. I don't know if we have. Come on. Ackerman steering. It's hard to judge like this. We might not. Probably have. We probably have Ackerman steering. Let's see if there's bump steer. Let's see if there's bump steer. I cannot feel it, but let's see if we can see it. Come on. Yeah, we have some bumps there. We have some bumps there. Absolutely. And I think we can solve the bump steer and the problem with this hitting the spring at the same time, but just by lowering this by one more step. Let's see if this helps and what kind of effect this has on overall on the overall geometry. And then I'll explain another thing that we need fixing. That we need to fix. Okay, let's see what changed. Yeah, as I thought. Okay. You see how long this axle is, and there's no support for it. This is not good. The angle is fixed, of course. We did this in the previous stream. I don't know if you can see it. Come on. But still, there's just too much movement, and we need to make sure that this doesn't happen, because this creates a whole bunch of problems. There's no worry that the steering mechanism is too low in the car. From what I can see, it's still about in this line, so it's fine. It's like in the rear car. It's the steering mechanism in the rear car is also lower than the actual suspension bridge. But this is too much, and we need to do the Pitman arms in a different way. That's also another way to solve this. So in the real car, the Pitman arms, of course, are bent a little bit. Let's take a look. You see? They are bent, they are not straight. So if this was our car, this axle would extend to this and then go to the steering link. Here, it does this. And maybe we could combine the solution to this with this. Come on. There you go. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to re-engineer this part, so the Pitman arm and the way it connects, basically. And we need to keep in mind that when this is in full lock, you see, these two must not collide. So this bend, or a kind of a bend, is kind of a must. But we need to do it as stiff as possible. Yeah, I don't know. And of course, the you can hear feel the resistance. What do you mean a guide? We're not going to use a guide. It's going to be the system that's used in the stock car. That's the whole point of it. If we wanted a guide, we could make a rack and pin steering, but that's really defies the point of us going through this exercise. What do you think? Okay. Now let me think what we could do. Well, this actually means that for the time being, our Pitman arms will probably need to be made out of two parts instead of just one, which I don't really like, I guess, but I don't think there's I don't think we have an option, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, there are actually in real life there are conversions for the original charger to have rack and pinion, but I have of course frequented. Yeah, I could. That's the possibility I am about to explore. You see, I'm going to use this. They are offset, of course, and here in when they meet, I'm going to use a lift arm. So we are going to use both possibilities. Just let me find it. There we go. One thing that we need to do is exchange the friction pins for some without friction. So these are going to make our life much easier. Yeah, I was streaming on Twitch because I thought, hey, Twitch is a nice platform. People are here, blah blah blah. But then a friend of mine just told me, dude, why are you wasting time on Twitch? You already have an audience on YouTube. They are waiting for videos, and yeah. Hey Lollipop, we are building a Dodge Charger. Okay, So I have a lot more confidence in this already. It may not be perfect. Oh my god, it feels a lot better. There's still, of course, some binding, but the most of the friction is coming from these. Maybe. Does this count as a modification? No, not in this car. However, if it's any consolidation, we are going to also build pneumatic engines on this stream. Probably next week when some of the parts arrive, and I have to build a customer engine. We are going to make the engine on the stream. Yeah, that's better. Some loop. Lubrication always helps. This is actually a very nice steering. It feels really solid. Feels really solid. Of course, we still have bump steer. But we are going to do a hack. Right now, I'm going to solve two problems at the same time. We're going to move these here half a stud further back, which should give us more leverage, and it brings the ball joint a little bit down so that the steering link is in line with the lower wishbone. Let's see how this goes. Okay. Okay, the steering goes much better because we have a larger lever. Now let's see what about the... Oh my god, this looks promising. This looks promising. We need to look at it from the top, and I move this. Okay. Okay, to be honest with you, the bump steer is present, but it's minimal. It's minimal. And we can always adjust it with this or with the height of the steering rack. The customer ordered a small cylinder, inline 4-cylinder. No, the Twitch. There's no stream on Twitch. I'm not streaming on Twitch. I streamed, I think, three times on Twitch, but today I'm streaming just on YouTube. Okay, so I think I'm satisfied with this, I guess. Okay, next project. We are going to make mounts for the torsion bars, but first, P-brake. There we go. Sorry, I just had to go take a leak. All right. Now, what we need to do now is to have a torsion bar mount on the chassis. So in the real car, you can adjust the torsion bar angle. We need to do this here as well, because if we just use a normal, I don't know, square mounting method, then what we have is just an A arm that is square, and we don't want that. The default position of the A arm when the car is off the ground needs to be something like this, and when it's on the ground, then it's level. So in order to do this, we have to make some sort of adjustment mechanism to adjust the height of this. So we can, I mean, you will also be able to lower the car by just adjusting the mounting point. I don't know where it has to be. This is probably too far away. This is probably too far away from the lift arm, from the A arm, because the torsion in this axle is gigantic. We are going to basically use these instead of a normal axle anyway to increase the torsion. But this doesn't matter. For now, what we need to do is engineer a method to adjust the height or the angle of the Lego axle in order to adjust the height of the car, like in a real car. Now there's many options that we have. We can do it for each of these individually, or we can combine a mechanism for them together. What would Lego do? Well, Lego would, of course, make a mechanism for both together, and then the drivetrain axle would just, I don't know, pass through here to make room for them here, and then down here, and then the engine would be driven by it. I don't know. This is not what we are going to do, because we need the space here between them for the drivetrain parts. So, like in the real car, we are going to make them adjustable individually. And my preferred method would be that we turn the car around, and there would be some sort of screwing mechanism. So basically, we would use the worm gear and a gear. Yeah, the front suspension is the first part. We started with the front suspension with some philosophy stuff, how we are going to approach this. So not really much that you have missed. We have touched on all of the things here again in the stream, so don't obsess yourself about it. Okay, so one of the considerations is basically the torsion bar suspension works like this. The stiffness of the suspension is dictated by the torsion resistance of the bar itself. But the height of the suspension is independent of the stiffness of the spring and is adjusted here on the mounting point of the torsion bar. So you can adjust the torsion bar at any height you want. When you have a car with torsion bar suspension, you don't need lowering springs. You just screw the adjuster on the spring a little bit to go higher or lower. That's it, and that's what we are going to have as well. Now, I had, come on, okay. I have discovered this, of course. You can see where come on. You have increments, and basically this would prevent the whole thing to readjusting itself while it drives. I don't know how to mount this, but the gist of what we are doing is we're having this setup. So this axle is where the torsion bar mounts. So if we replace this connector with this, and then we have an adjuster that is fixed to the chassis, and then when you turn this moves up and down, and once you move it, this gear cannot make the worm gear rotate, and it stays in place like this. Preferably, I would make a module, because I like modular stuff. I would make a module which can be put on and removed as necessary. And since, of course, the force of the suspension when everything compresses, this is pushed upwards. The mechanism will be on this side, not on the inside of the chassis, which is fine, because here we have the room, and here we actually don't want any mechanism, because there will be the tunnel is going to be here. Yeah, I mean, the Renault 4 has it, the Renault 5, the first generation Renault 5 has it, many American cars have it, even some European cars. I mean, it's even today, vans have it. For example, the Renault Traffic van also has it. I think we are going to have just a torsion bar for now, because while there is room for a shock absorber if necessary, preferably I would just leave it off for now, and we are going to see if it's necessary. I don't know. We can always come back and add it in. I mean, we are going to try the torsion bars first. I have even no idea how stiff they will be. Maybe they will be they will bend so much that we are actually not going to use them. That's also a possibility. I don't know. One thing I see here, and this is actually pretty cool. You see, we can have the mechanism for the torsion somewhere around here, and the adjuster for it, see, goes through the chassis and it's here. This would be brilliant. Of course, it would be here somewhere. This is what we are going to try. But first, let's see. We have 3 studs available between the axle and the frame rail. And now we need to find a combination of I don't know. The problem is for anti-roll bar, there's so little room here. We tried in the previous stream, we tried to somehow mount it, but the problem is that the link on this side needs to be it needs to move. So it can't, the torsion bar cannot mount directly to the A-arm. It needs to have a link that is movable, which we just don't have. And there's no room to really engineer it like this. Yeah, I was thinking about the 24 tooth gear, and this is probably what we are going to use. This is the best combination. And we can actually reverse these two and try it on the car. Never say never. I mean, maybe we are going to put a shock absorber in. I don't know. Maybe we are, maybe we won't. It all depends on the fact if it's necessary. Because ideally, this would be an actual shock absorber. This is just a spring. This is not a shock absorber per se. The shock absorber would dampen the swinging of the suspension, but this is just another spring. So I don't know. Okay, so let's rethink here this for a moment. As it looks now, we have our adjuster here. See, it can adjust torsion bar. Just a prototype, nothing else. Don't judge. Don't judge. Okay. And now we need to engineer this part. So this is slightly more difficult, but not impossible at all. I'm going to use this, and this. No, we are going to use a 3-stud. This is just a proof of concept, of course. By no means will this be strong enough to be used as a suspension mount. Not even close. But I just want to demonstrate what we are aiming for. Come on. So. Yeah, as I said, it's not strong enough to be of any use. Yeah, because this mount here needs to be much stronger. This needs to be somehow combined. But the gist, I think the gist is obvious. What you're doing. I'm holding with my hand. Yeah, of course. I'm holding this with my hand. You see? Okay. Yeah, okay. So this needs to be lower, of course. But doesn't matter now. So now the suspension is adjusted to be as low as possible. And when we compress it, yeah, okay, this happens. I'm again holding it with my hand so it doesn't pop out. And we have a spring. Oh my god. And this is actually, that's not bad. That's not bad. Not bad at all. It's soft, but of course we can change this for these for these connectors, and then it will be stiffer. Hurrah! Oh my god, this even works. Okay, so now we need to engineer this to be actually usable. And the only way to engineer this to be usable is to make it, as we said before, as a module. So a closed module. Yeah, I think I'm surprised myself. So we remove this, and now we make, we put this, what the fuck? Oh yeah, we put it on the side because we don't need it at the moment. So now we need to make a module that puts these two together so that they cannot separate. And I'm pretty sure we are going to use the connectors. So what we are going to do is the module will be fixed, and it is going to have a one stud axle will be poking out of it, and it can connect directly to the torsion bar. So this little guy needs half a stud offset on each side of this, otherwise we have no idea, no way of connecting it. But wait, okay, wait a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so the main trouble is that this gear can move on axles here if we don't engineer it properly. So we need to make sure that somehow this doesn't allow this gear to move like this. If this is fixed, then we're golden. This is where I put my thinking hat on. I am very open to any kind of suggestions. In the meantime, I'm just going to experiment a little bit. You never know what can come out of it. Yeah. Something like this. Well, the worm gear needs this. Okay, then we are going to use these two pieces. Like this. All right. So see, this is the only slack we have, and the gear here is unable. It cannot rotate the worm gear. So technically, we could use this as steering as well. But then again, if we use this steering, the suspension itself cannot provide any kind of feedback. It cannot realign itself when going straight. So this is one of the reasons I prefer to use gears for the steering. But for the torsion bars, this is what we are going to use. Now, of course, going back to the chassis, we need to incorporate this into the chassis, which means that we probably need to re-engineer the frames. Surprise, surprise. Because we cannot fit this anywhere here. If we do it like this, which we could even combine it on both sides. Then we can use just one screw to adjust both. But the problem is that we need, as I said before, we want a tunnel. So if we want a tunnel, we cannot use this. And the problem is when the suspension compresses here, it pushes this down, and the part is most stressed is this one. So we cannot make this smaller in order to have a bigger tunnel. At best, what we can do, if we mount it like this, would be to have a tunnel that is three studs wide. But I want a tunnel that is 5 studs wide. So a frame, a gearbox that is as thick as a frame can be jammed into the tunnel. So that's not possible. My ideal version would be, as stated before, that this would be mounted vertically. And vertically, it would be mounted like this. Is it in line? Yeah. But of course it cannot be where it is now, because then the torsion bar is way too long and it would be way too soft. Yeah, so we have only a slight problem. So we need to re-engineer this. There's a few solutions we can do, depending on where we want this module to sit. Because we still need something here. And I'm thinking, and I think I know what we are going to do. Hopefully, I'm right. If not, oh well. Let's try it with a bigger frame, and the frame possibly can fit the entire thing inside of it, while at the same time being part of the structure. Okay. Okay. So I put the wet axle in, since I have no idea where this is going to be. And let's take a look. Yeah, it's a little bit closer. It's a little bit closer. So the spring or torsion bar is a little bit. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem. No, I don't think we are going to be able to use this. Simply because if we want this to be in line with the torsion bar, this frame is actually is it too low? Yeah, it probably would fit a small frame, but I'm just thinking, regardless of the frame we would use, uh, I'm thinking without the proper wheels. No, wait. We have these. These are no. It would be too low. You see, I was thinking that this edge here would be just okay if we mount it like this in the at this height, but actually it's too low. It's one start too low, at least, if you know what I mean. So let's turn it around. If we mount it like this, the actual piece of frame is just too low. Well, I have a studded box for this, but I don't want to use that. It's not really appropriate for this. Okay. So yeah, this of course would fit the frame perfectly. Okay, what if we engineer this into a frame and make the frame a module? Yeah, but I don't think we can do that. Not really. I mean, this is the perfect module for this. Really, I don't want to change it. It's really nice. What else can we do? I'm just thinking aloud. There's a few possibilities. So let's assume this is our wheel. One possibility is, of course, to make the frame wheel flare out here a little bit, which is the case in the real car as well, because there it opens up to the inside of the car. The only wild card here, of course, is the wheel. Okay. Is the wheel, because I don't know how big our wheel is. But we can exaggerate this a little bit by using this. It fits our suspension. It's wider than the wheel that we are going to use, and if this doesn't hit anything, our wheel is not going to fit anything either. So that's what we're going to do. Ah, yes. Small problems. Doesn't matter. We're just going to use a 5-stud axle to fit the wheel. This is just for checking if our theory is correct. Come on. There we go. Okay. I mean, it looks appropriate, doesn't it? Oh man. Thick boy. And you can, now that we have this wheel mounted, you can actually see the effect of caster. Can you see how the wheel lifts off the ground? This is caster and kingpin working together. Yeah. This wheel, of course, bumps into the chassis here, which ours shouldn't, because ours is narrower. But, you know, you never know. We may have to redesign this as well. But here in the back, yeah, we don't have much scope here for it. It cannot be wider here, but it can be wider here. So we need to just these two, or just the one stud here. The one stud here cannot be wider. We can go wider here. So here, come on. Here we can already go wider. See? That's good to know, because that's exactly what we are going to do. And let me show you how. This is a technique I have used in the E30 as well. That's why I know it works. And for this, we need these. See? These are the parts that are going to allow us to do this intermittently. There we go. Bam. And our chassis is suddenly wider. And now we shouldn't have any problems fitting this. At this point, of course, we are going to change the torsion bar. Oh, come on. The parts that you need are always at the bottom of the pile, usually. This goes in. Okay, yeah. I need 6 probably. let's say this. Okay. So this would be our torsion bar, to which then our adjustment mechanism connects. Okay. There we go. Now we just need to fix this, the chassis, and we're golden. This shouldn't be such a big deal. Shouldn't be, but who knows. Man, this thing is massive, but what can you do? It's not as low as the steering, and we already said that the steering is in a good position. Okay. Ah yes, of course, that's bothering me the whole time. Of course, we need to make an offset by half a stud. Yep. That's better. Now, how to engineer this? We could use... So basically, this is going to be... Come on. Okay. This is going to be pushed when the suspension is working. See, this is going to... These are the forces that are going to work on this part. So we need to counter those. Okay, so just to orient us, I'm going to install this one. This is where we are going to be adjusting our suspension. Now, how to make this work? There's a simple solution, which might work, might not work. I'm going to try it. Come on. Oh, there's even room for it. Very nice. Okay. 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 Let's see what. Oh yeah. Okay. That was a little bit too much. We need a bump stop here. Perfect. See? Now, what you can observe here, that this is being pulled out. this is not a concern because there will be a firewall here, which is going to prevent this from happening. Okay. Let's replicate this on the other side and combine this with the back plate. And let's put some wheels on it and see what's happening. And let's play a little bit with it. Why not? I'm just going to put this back because we are not going to use the big wheel. We're going to use the smaller wheels so we can use the steering as well. Okay. So again, if we can get away with the minimal possible parts usage, we are doing it. As few parts as possible for the maximum effect, so that everything is as light as possible, because lightness is very important. Things need to be light. Yeah, we're building a dot charger. Approximately 1 to 8 scale. That's what the calculations have told us, that this is going to be 1/8 scale. And we are going to use the Batman, the Batmobile wheels. Okay, so this is on this side, goes in like this. Okay. Nasty. Okay. I don't know what you mean by nasty. Okay. Yes, this is what we need. Ah. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's just a double wishbone suspension, nothing else. Just a simple double wishbone. Okay. See, this is why what I'm always trying to tell people, that the Lego suspensions are just as simple. It's the same concept. Lego suspensions are double wishbone suspensions, but they are boring because they use the same elements over and over again in the same configurations without any change. And a double wishbone suspension can be extremely fun, like this. Okay, so let me add the adjusters. So these are not smokestacks, these are our suspension adjusters. So let's see what's happening here. Neat. Okay, let's mount wheels and see where we're at. There we go. There we go. Okay. So the wheels, these wheels, of course, rub against our steering knuckles. But this part is going to be probably be changed anyway. When we mount the Batman wheels, we'll see if we need to change this so that the wheels don't drop, or we don't. For now, it's irrelevant. I'm not really obsessing about it. Okay, so our suspension is actually, the height difference is enormous. So let's adjust it, because we can. Okay. Neat. See? Again, we need to add some bump stops so that this doesn't happen. The real car has it. Ours should have one as well. This happens when the suspension is set for too low. But now I think, yeah, the springs are soft, of course, but we have, of course, a large exposed area of axle here, which is probably going to be replaced by a connector, and probably by half a bush. So this is going to be solid. Then it'll be much stiffer. But yeah, I'm happy. This is pretty good. Come on. God, this grips. Okay, you see, what I want to engineer now is a bump stop for the upper suspension arm. What happens is this, and I don't want this to happen, because then at this point the camber dramatically changes, and it's not going to, it's basically locked. It's not going to go up. I don't think we need anything fancy. Basically, we just need to add something like this, I think. Something like this. Yep, that's enough. That's it. And we're golden. No more extreme angles. It cannot lock itself. That's fine. Well, the car will have, we are going to make a dummy engine for it, but with push rods, valves, and all the stuff. So it will have all the functions of the real engine that the Lego engines are missing. But then you will be able to just get it out, and drop power functions set up in, so you can have the car remote controlled. That's the plan. And these here, I'm going to do something else with them, because this is too long. This is too long. How much do we need? We need 8, a tenner. 10 stud axle. I mean, this is all subject to change, but yeah, so it's a little bit neater. You don't approve? Okay. That's more like it. Now we can really adjust it. So we have our removable upper suspension arms. We have our suspension bridge, which is also fully removable. Everything is nice and modular. Of course, I'm not obsessing with the steering, because when we add the wheels, all of this will probably have to change a little bit. And then we are also going to see the angles of the wheels. Do the wheels have Ackerman steering? Do they not? How is the bump steer? And all that jazz. And then we are going to make final decisions then. But in principle, this is good. In principle, there's nothing wrong with it. I like it. Some adjustments to the final product will be necessary, of course. But yeah. And here we can also do something with the steering to minimize slack in it. So since this can pivot, there will be only one universal joint, and this will be on the firewall. So we can tilt this. Come on. We can tilt this like this to go out of the way of the engine, like in the rear car as well, and then have a universal joint here. The firewall will be probably somewhere here, or maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We are going to deal with it once the wheels are here. Then we can see where everything is in relation to each other. So this is the diameter of the wheels, but the wheels that we are going to use are narrower than this. So the Batman wheels are narrower for the width of this ridge here. So these are, I think they are 50 millimeters, I think, and the Batman wheels are 44 millimeters wide. So yeah, and the Batman wheels have a smaller wheel and a smaller rim. This is the rim of the Batman wheels, but they have the tire the slope that is present here goes much further. So before I have the wheels in my hands, I cannot really tell what we're going to do. Anyway, it's getting late. It's 11 o'clock in Europe, and I think we are calling it a day for now. Yeah, it will be a first for me as well. I hope we can make push rods, 2 valves per cylinder, a camshaft that is removable as in the wheel car. We'll see. But the engine is really the last thing that we are going to engineer. The important thing is the chassis, and you can see that this is already stiff, and we haven't even made a frame here in front. So the technique with the frames is really what Lego should be doing as well. The lift arms have their place, obviously, and we are going to use them as well. But frames are, yeah, but the frames are much better, really. And with the frames, you can make a chassis that is really light compared to the lift arms, because with the lift arms you have to use so many to achieve kind of stiffness, but you really don't. Lift arm cars are notoriously parts heavy and consequently heavy. Look at the Land Rover, for example. The Land Rover is so heavy, it would not need to be so heavy. It could be at least a third lighter, if not more. But the chassis itself is just so elaborate. It uses so many lift arms, so unnecessary. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. What one thing I wanted to show you. I showed this to the guys on the previous streams, but hey. You see, the legendary silver champion. I use it as an example of Lego engineering, which is most Lego cars have the same problems as this car. So if I try to twist the car, watch what happens. So if a car twists this much, there's really no point in having a suspension, because the car itself is already doing all the work for you. And this is what I mean when I talk about torsional rigidity of the body and stuff like that. Always the first thing you do is see if the body is torsionally rigid. If it's rigid, then someone has been paying attention to the engineering. If it isn't, well, back to the drawing board. Yeah, a Formula One for bumpy roads. This is only acceptable if you have SUV, or no, not an SUV, an off-road car on a leather chassis frame. Only, or a truck. Trucks can have this too, because real life trucks also have frames that are designed to bend. That's okay in those cases, but in all the other cases, no. In our case, also no. The charger will be stiff. Needs to be stiff because the hand of God steering, which our car will have, is going to be an extension of the steering wheel on the dashboard. So it will be an extension going to the roof, and then you will be able to drive it from the roof. That's how I do it. And the bump, so the steering knob on the roof will be removable. So when you want to put it on a shelf, remove it, put it in the trunk or whatever. When you want to drive it on your desk or on the floor, put the hand of God steering knob into the roof and drive it, because the roof is the most logical uh, position to have the knob. For example, you know this guy here from the video. This is such an excellent fidgeting toy. Exactly because it has a hand of God steering here. And you know, the Lego Dodge Charger has the hand of God steering in the back, where the suspension is the softest. So basically, you're only when you drive it with the hand of God steering, you only press it, depress the rear suspension. So every time you drive it, you basically drive it as if it has a sack of cement in the trunk or something like that. And we don't want this. Yeah, of course, we don't want this. We want it to be in the center of the car. So when you drive it with the hand of God steering, you apply equal pressure on the front and the rear suspension, and in the center of the car, preferably. I don't know if we manage it, but close to the center, so that when you drive it into corners, you can really lean into corners to get that body lean, to experience. We are actually making all of this suspension geometry for the whole purpose that you feel it on the hand of God steering knob. Well, it's a Ford Transit. The wheels are as they are. They're to scale, I guess. Yeah, so the whole point is to feel this suspension geometry then on the steering wheel. You can this car has a caster, and you can feel it when you drive. The steering does transmit what it's doing, and this is what is lacking, for example, in the Lego Land Rover, or basically any Lego supercar, because there's no suspension geometry. The steering is absolutely numb. You have no idea what you're doing, and when the car is driving, there's absolutely no excitement, and I don't want that. If I'm using the car for fidgeting on the desk, I want it to be for it to transmit those bumps. No, the Charger will have a studless exterior. It will be basic. I mean, it'll be basically like the Lego Charger, but better, because we can apply more detail, because we have a larger scale. We are going to use the Batman wheels. These we are going to use these, because I think these are going to look badass. See, this is the look I want to replicate. This is the Charger look that needs to be present. Lego completely fucked up the rear arch of the car, so we need to do better, and there's no reason why we cannot. And of course, this shoulder and everything, this will be difficult to completely replicate, but we are going to do our best. The most important part of the car, of the structure, is going to be the C pillar, this one, and the A pillar, because we of course won't have a B pillar. These will provide the main support for the roof, and of course they will help immensely with the torsional stiffness of the car, because the roof is an integral part of the structure of the body. Yeah, the wheels that I have here are just placeholders. I ordered the Batman wheels, so as soon as they arrive, I will feature them here. As soon as they arrive, we are going to fit them and see where we're at, what we need to change, and so on. Okay, so the front is pretty okay for now. So in the next stream, we are going to start on the rear suspension. So differential, leaf springs, axles, and all the jazz. So we can have the front and the rear frame of the car, and then we are going to make the middle section. I think that's the best approach. Usually I also do the firewall first, but I need to see where the wheels are, where the firewall is. Probably the fire. There could be a possibility that the firewall would be here. So this would be inside. This adjuster would be inside of the car, and then we will have to redesign part of this anyway, which we are going to do. No problem. If it's inside the car, all the better. I don't have a streaming schedule. Usually, you can count on me being streaming at about 8 or 8:15 p.m. Central European time. But I do announce it an hour before the stream on Twitter and on the LPA Power Facebook page. Of course, if I have other responsibilities in the evening, then the stream will be either cancelled or rescheduled for another time. For example, tomorrow is Wednesday, so tomorrow my World of Warships clan has clan battles. So tomorrow evening the stream will definitely be cancelled, or if everybody can tune in, we can have the stream in the afternoon, but the evening is probably a better schedule for everybody. So I don't know, let me know. Write on the comments below the stream once the stream is finished, or I don't know, write me on LP Power or on Twitter when would be a good time to have a stream. So from 8 to 11 in the evening is usually a time where everybody can tune in, even people from the US. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for today. It's 11 o'clock here in Europe. I'm a little bit tired. Yeah, I think evening is best. So now when we have the clan battles, I need to be present at the clan battles, and the stream will suffer a little bit. But I will try to alternate. So one evening clan battles, one evening stream. So maybe not every day, but every second day. Also, please let me know if the quality of the stream is good enough. Yeah. Let me know if the quality of the stream is good enough. If you see something that I could change for the better. Um I'm still experimenting with different streaming software. Uh, the frame rate on my computer is at the moment not the best. I'm investigating. It's better than it was on Twitch, but it's still a few issues. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Most people are working from home. Okay, that's it for today. I see you on Thursday evening at 8 p.m. most likely. Uh, I will announce it, as I said, on LP Power Facebook page or on Twitter. So follow me also on Twitter. Um, if you haven't, oh yeah, when I show the computer screen. Okay, yeah, but I'm lingering on the picture on the computer screen anyway. So yeah. Um, Obviously, if you like what you're seeing, like and subscribe. The obligatory saying nowadays. And I see you on Thursday. Good night.